Hi, welcome to our final presentation for Intro to Design Thinking, Business 234. We are the group Game Design in the COVID World, and we are made of Davey, Gina, Matthew, and Christopher. But first, a little bit of an introduction. As we all know, the advent of coronavirus 2019 shook the world and forced billions of people all over to lock down at home. Despite it being more important than ever, communication and keeping close with loved ones is made difficult due to the restriction on in-person interaction. What is the problem? Due to government guidelines on social gatherings and the looming danger of COVID-19, more people than ever before are opting to stay home and operate virtually. Unfortunately, the current virtual substitutes for both face-to-face socialization and collaboration rarely reach the same levels of meaningful and authentic social connection people feel when interacting in person. So, what are people actually doing about it? Well, there have been a lot of different reactions, but they tend to fall into one of two categories. Some have chosen to reject the virus and its dangers entirely, and irresponsibly continue to socialize in person. However, most people are making do with what they have. Things like shared online activities and social media can help stave off the itch for face-to-face contact. Some other common activities we found were watching TV or broadcast together virtually, hosting games at home with roommates, family and group calls to catch up, and playing video games together with accompanying real-time voice chat. Here's a quick look at some of the services and options available right now. Zoom and Teams. These can be very effective for things like education and collaboration, as we all know, but as we also know, it's only as useful as the people using it. Unenthusiastic teachers or managers can turn any Zoom meeting into a snore fest, and it's particularly difficult to connect with someone new through just a video call. Skype and Discord. These are more geared towards a casual setting and are great for long calls with friends, family, or whoever you want. However, they're not as useful in a professional sense and can lack functionality like breakout rooms. In person. Back in my day, we all did this. No screens, just good old face-to-face interaction. Unfortunately, for obvious reasons, this one isn't really a feasible alternative right now. Here are a couple of key insights from our research. One important finding was that of the students interviewed, a majority of them reported that working in teams online was more difficult than working in teams in person. They also reported meeting new people in online classes being more difficult due to the inability to engage in casual conversations with people nearby. Another important takeaway was found from our research on social media. It reported that more time on social media can lead to increased loneliness as well as decreased self-esteem and deflated self-worth. When paired with the pandemic and its resulting lack of face-to-face interaction, it can be a lot for one to bear. To sum up, many people are looking for a way to achieve the meaningful interaction with friends and family that they are used to, only in a virtual setting. How might we use game design to give users a sense of progress and achievement and foster meaningful social interactions in a disconnected virtual landscape? Here are some of our customer archetypes. John is an engineering student. He's always had a bit of trouble making friends and has recently been frustrated with the pandemic's only making it harder. Danny is another Cal Poly student, this time a business major. She had plenty of friends in high school, but college is an entirely different beast, and she's struggling with the transition. Becca is a professor in the comms department. While she's never had trouble engaging students before, she's worried that her students will suffer if she isn't able to maintain that engagement in virtual classes. And here are our customer segments. Our first segment is made up of college students. The majority of students that we interviewed were disappointed with the current state of student collaboration and networking. They're tired of sitting in breakout rooms with nobody's video on and nobody talking. Second, we have the urban professionals. They are similarly frustrated with the difficulty of virtual collaboration and want a better way to connect with colleagues in both professional and casual settings. Overall, Both want to be able to truly connect with their peers in a way that is impossible with the status quo.
For our what if portion, we really wanted to look at what value we could bring to our customers depending on what we did for them. So first, we had to think of the types of games that we could possibly create and that people were already playing through Mind Map. And from there, thinking about types of socialization games and what people do in order to socialize via games. So, kind of combining and mixing and matching those two. We also created a storyboard saying, what if someone couldn't see their friends due to social distancing? Well, they could be sad and lonely, and social media would eventually become unfulfilling, and they would get sad and maybe even depressed. And what we felt would fix it would be playing a fun game with others and having, this authentic social interaction. Through our research, we found things such as 61% of people have increased their gaming since COVID. And, people in our interviews didn't like breakout rooms and team building activities as they are now, as well as just en masse tons and tons of people downloading more cooperative play games on the App Store, as well as on Steam and other PC gaming platforms. So taking the information we had brainstormed, we thought, what aspects of gaming, really bring people comfort? And one, it's the aesthetics, it's the visuals. People enjoy seeing things that are soft on the eyes. It's the ability to collaborate with other people, such as we said earlier, the co-op apps are being downloaded like crazy right now, as well as a challenge, something that when they complete it, they'll have a sense of gratification. Our goal is to allow users to express themselves truly through online social interaction and give them a sense of achievement when working with their peers, as well as providing a simple gameplay structure that can bring about a little bit of normalcy and control throughout this chaotic year.
And now we'll dive into what wows. And we're really focusing this time around virtual team building and how our solution kind of fulfills this problem. And we create these effective team dynamics, whether it be in a company or a group project or just for social benefit. And along with these benefits, some of these benefits includes the engagement of getting people talking, just especially on that virtual format. And it's insightful because we learn how team members think and act. And there's an aspect of bonding where team members can start creating those relationships. And so now the team building is really tricky because you're not in a room, you're not bouncing ideas off each other. So we're trying to make that and increase that activity among the team on the virtual platform. And so it's tricky with, again, not being in a room and being able to bounce those ideas. So we've come up with these modernized games to get people working together, to get people thinking, and create a team dynamic on a platform, virtual platform that is powered by Zoom. And so again, kind of showing having that interaction without being there in person. And so our few of our games, they're not just any click around luck based games. It's all kind of having to do with strategy and skill and working with others. So you have this game Cubes where you have this map and you have your different pieces. And so each person on the team is going to have a different piece. And so you have to work together, communicate, because you don't necessarily know the other person's pieces. And so you really have to use your communication skills, get people talking, and work together as a team, try to solve the puzzle and complete it. The next game, it could be something as simple as Escape Room, where you're in a room and you have to talk with your team, and so you point stuff out, see what they find, and then if you found the key, then okay, where do we use the key? So walking through a step-by-step process, which really helps when you work on a project and there's steps that you need to follow. So practicing going through that, again, with the virtual format, really focusing on that communication aspect of things. And that is how we're trying to create those relationships, keep people engaged, keep people talking on this now virtual environment we live on. And whether it be in company or school project, our games will help spark that team building dynamic.
After we had picked our two games, we wanted to develop a mock-up of the software itself. We started with a simple mood board of colors, fonts, and layouts that we liked, then combined it all into an approximate user interface of the software's primary pages. So this is the UI for our software, and this is the Home tab. You might see notifications, messages, or upcoming events here. At the top is the team you're logged into, but you can be on multiple teams at once and view them by clicking the dots at the top, or request to add a new member with the plus button. There'd probably be a slightly different version of the software available for the professors or the moderators in charge of the team. This is the Browse tab, where you can look for and try out different games or activities from the game library. We have our 2 game covers displayed here. And this is the Profile tab, where you would be able to view recent activity, your stats, your team stats, and access things like your account, your teams, your inbox, your settings, etc. This is what the software would look like when a user loaded it to play a game in Zoom. We might theoretically have added a full screen option as well, with the video gallery still viewable on the side like it is now. So for testing, we would first start here at Cal Poly, ideally in at least 1 to 2 classes with several different groups each. We'd ask the professors and students permission to record the sessions to observe the group dynamics during the activities. If denied, we would yield most of our feedback from the surveys we'd give out after each activity. We'd shoot for each group completing probably 1 game or activity per week for at least 3 to 5 weeks, but longer if permitted. Then we'd incorporate feedback from the first session and conduct another 3 to 5 weeks plus session with other classes. Doing several different sessions in various academic areas and class types would allow us to see if there's an area we could pursue that's particularly well suited to our software's purpose. If testing was promising at Cal Poly, we would expand testing on campus as well as reach out to other schools and offer similar free trials and testing sessions with the software. We would intend to eventually expand use of it into other education levels as well, like high schools, junior high, and elementary schools. We would also offer trials to industries other than education where team-based work is crucial, such as sports teams, creative teams, and other team-based workplaces. We would likely also make the software available for personal use if there appeared to be interest in individual use outside of institutions. Because this is a team-building software intended to be genuinely fun and enjoyable, we want people's honest opinions. So we'd ask if the user had fun with their group, if their group was able to finish, if the user felt the activity was relevant and actually impacted their group's ability to communicate and work together, etc. Success for our software would mean that people anecdotally reported improvements in the group relationships and enjoyed the activities the software offered. Failure would essentially mean that either people felt like the software negatively impacted their group, had no impact at all, or was largely unenjoyable. It would likely take several weeks to get an accurate picture of the software's impact, as well as testing among various academic fields, class types, and eventually education levels in other industries or workplaces. What didn't work? So we weren't able to create fully fleshed out games or code the actual software. The only thing we could do is mock up a general idea of the user interface and experience of those things. And without a working prototype, we really couldn't do any testing at all, and therefore it's impossible at this point to know the real impact of a software and the games or whether or not we achieved our initial goals. We also weren't able to get as specific and in-depth with the games as we would have if we'd gotten feedback and learned that certain academic areas, education levels, or industries were better suited to the software's purpose. First, we identified a need for meaningful, authentic social interactions which were lacking in the virtual landscape caused by social distancing during COVID. We noticed that young people, our target demographic, were very affected by this, and that they frequently added elements of entertainment to their social interactions to make them more meaningful and enjoyable. Examples of this that we previously mentioned include taking part in social media conversations in communities, live streaming or watching TV content with others, playing video games over video or audio calls, and hosting at-home game nights instead of going out. So we incorporated the entertainment element into our team-building software, updated our games and activities to a more modern standard, and designed it to ideally improve group relationships and communication, foster connection and productivity, and improve important group skills like decision-making, strategic thinking, and teamwork through our collaborative puzzle games. It's unfortunate we couldn't do any testing of our product, but we feel like it would have made an impact on group-based work in schools and eventually other industries, especially as we all struggle to navigate the virtual world brought on by COVID.